Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Leviticus, the 14th chapter. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses, saying, This shall be the law of the leper in the day of his cleansing. He shall be brought on to the priest. And so this is in the previous chapter, we went into how you detect when somebody does have leprosy, and what is the protocol concerning what happens to them, when they're quarantined, how long they're quarantined from, when the priest checks on them again, and so on and so forth. And this goes into what happens once the priest says, okay, this person is now not contagious anymore and they can be cleaned or cleansed. This would be the way that it would be handled. So it says here, he shall be brought unto the priest. And what that means is, it doesn't mean the priest is they're gonna bring the man into the holy place or into the court of the tabernacle just yet, because remember, they would be out of the camp, so they don't spread anything. So it says, and the priest shall go forth out of the camp to where this individual is, and the priest shall look, and behold, if the plague of leprosy be healed in the leper, then shall the priest command to take for him that is to be cleansed 2 birds alive and clean, so clean birds, and cedar wood and scarlet and hyssop. When you look into that scarlet, the word goes into the dye that comes forth of here, as it says, the Coccus illycis. It says the dye made from the dried body of the female of the worm Coccus illycis, and that is like what they'll call it, the Tyrian purple. So it's a certain creature, right, which excretes this certain dye that is used to dye, garments and material and so on. But here, as you see in some of these other translations, it's not actually referring to the dye itself, but something that has been dyed scarlet. So like the NLT, you'll see it says scarlet yarn, and pretty much for the rest of the other translations, you'll see that scarlet yarn or string or thread. So you would gather all these things, all right, and the priest shall command that one of the birds be killed in an earthen vessel over running water. Running water here means fresh or clean water. So they would basically pour water into a vessel, an earthen vessel, and they would kill one of the birds over it. So its blood is now mixed into that vessel with that water. As for the living bird, he shall take it, and the cedar wood, and the scarlet, and the hyssop, and shall dip them in the living bird in the blood of the bird that was killed over the running water. So this earthen vase or vessel that contains the mixture of that running water and the blood of one of the birds, you take all the other materials, right, the scarlet, the hyssop, the cedar wood, and the actual live bird, and dip them all into this diluted blood of the previous bird. And he shall sprinkle upon him that is to be cleansed from the leprosy 7 times, and shall pronounce him clean, and shall let the living bird loose into the open field. So you would sprinkle the blood from that earthen vessel upon the one that is to be cleansed 7 times, and then release the living bird, as it says, in the open field. And he that is to be cleansed shall wash his clothes, and shave off all his hair, and wash himself in water, that he may be clean. And after that he shall come into the camp, and shall tarry abroad out of his tent 7 days. So after this first ritual, he is going to be, as it says, made clean right after washing himself. and then he can return into the camp. The camp was the settlement, you could say, right, where the tribes were, and each of them having their own tents and so on, separated by tribes and whatnot. But basically the community where everybody was, they would they would be able to return back there. However, they couldn't go back to their own tent, which would be like their house or their dwelling place, just yet. So they probably have a temporary place where they would stay within the camp. But it shall be on the seventh day that he shall shave all his hair off his head, and his beard, and his eyebrows, even all his hair he shall shave off. Now, this doesn't mean that it's, oh, you see in Leviticus 14:9, that means we're able to shave our heads and our eyebrows and all of that. This is a part of a rite or a part of a ritual or an ordinance for cleansing a leper, right? So it's specific to that case. And he shall wash his clothes. Also he shall wash his flesh in water, and he shall be clean. And on the 8th day he shall take 2 he-lambs without blemish, so there are no defects. The one ewe lamb, which is a female lamb, 2 males, 1 female lamb of the first year without blemish, and 3/10 deals of fine flour for a meat offering, mingled with oil, and 1 log of oil. So you have the flour mingled with oil, and then you have a log, cup, cruse. It's some form of a measurement of oil. And the priest that maketh him clean shall present the man that is to be made clean, and those things before the Lord Yahweh at the door of the tabernacle of the congregation. So now if we look up here, Court of the Tabernacle Bible, and try to get a halfway decent image. Okay, we can settle for this. Hold up. Yeah, okay. So the court, or the door of the tabernacle, is like that around the entrance, right? But being that they're being presented before the Lord, they would have to be within the actual court of the tabernacle for the rest of this ritual to be performed. So they bring the person along with the other stuff, right? And so verse 12, and the priest shall take 1 he-lamb and offer him for a trespass offering, and the log of oil, and wave them for a wave offering before the Lord Yahweh. And he shall slay the lamb in the place where he shall kill the sin offering and the burnt offering in the holy place. For as the sin offering is the priest, so the trespass offering, or so is the trespass offering, it is most holy. So there would be a particular section here where you would actually slay the animal, in particular where you would slay the sin offering, and that would be the same section you would slay this trespass offering. And what's being mentioned here is, just as the sin offering, the meat of it would belong to the priest who offered it, so same thing for the trespass offering. So the priest who offered it would eat of it. And the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering, and the priest shall put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the right thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall take some of the log of oil, and pour it into the palm of his own left hand. So the priest's left hand, he would pour some of the oil in there. And the priest shall dip his right finger in the oil that is in his left hand, and shall sprinkle of the oil with his finger 7 times before the Lord, which will likely be 7 times facing the direction in which the tabernacle itself is, where the ark is, right? But probably not inside the actual tabernacle. So it says here, and the rest of the oil that is in his hand shall the priest put upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the blood of the trespass offering. So what that means is the same place, right, where he had put the blood of the animal on his ear, his right thumb and his right toe, that same place is where he would put the oil. His ear, his right his right thumb and his right toe. And the remnant of the oil that is in the priest's hand, he shall pour upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, basically to anoint him with it. And the priest shall make an atonement for him before the Lord Yahweh. And the priest shall offer the sin offering and make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed from his uncleanness, that is, the leprosy that he had. And afterward he shall kill the burnt offering. And the priest shall offer the burnt offering and meat offering upon the altar. And the priest shall make an atonement for him, and he shall be clean. So now he is officially clean. And if he be poor, so now in verse 21, this is discussing what happens if you are somebody that is poor and you maybe can't afford all of the things that are required for your cleansing ritual. Well, the way that will be handled is as follows. And if he be poor and cannot get so much, then he shall take one lamb for a trespass offering to be waived, and to make an atonement for him, and 1/10 deal of fine flour mingled with oil for a meat offering, and a log of oil. And this is pretty much very similar to the same process as what we read in the first 20 verses, except instead of the 2 he lambs with the 1 ewe lamb, you now would be able to use 2 turtle doves, right? Even though you still need to bring that 1 lamb, right, for the trespass offering, you don't need to bring 3 lambs. You can bring turtle doves, which are more affordable than lambs, right? And so for one that is poor, it says here, and 2 turtle doves or 2 young pigeons, such as he is able to get, whichever one you can get your hands on. And the one shall be a sin offering, and the other a burnt offering. And he shall bring them on the 8th day for his cleansing unto the priest, unto the door of the tabernacle of the congregation before the Lord Yahweh. And the priest shall take the lamb of the trespass offering and the log of oil, and the priest shall wave them for a wave offering before the Lord Yahweh. And he shall kill the lamb for the trespass offering, and the priest shall take some of the blood of the trespass offering and put it upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot. And the priest shall pour of the oil into the palm of his own left hand. And the priest shall sprinkle with his right finger some of the oil that is in his left hand 7 times before the Lord Yahweh. And the priest shall put of the oil that is in his hand upon the tip of the right ear of him that is to be cleansed, and upon the thumb of his right hand, and upon the great toe of his right foot, upon the place of the blood of the trespass offering. And the rest of the oil that is in the priest's hand, he shall put upon the head of him that is to be cleansed, to make an atonement for him before the Lord Yahweh. And he shall offer the one of the turtle doves, or of the young pigeons, such as he can get, whichever one the poor man was able to get, even such as he is able to get, the one for a sin offering, and the other for a burnt offering, with a meat offering. And the priest shall make an atonement for him that is to be cleansed before the Lord Yahweh. This is the law of him in whom is the plague of leprosy, whose hand is not able to get that which pertaineth to his cleansing. So he wasn't able to afford or procure the actual lambs. This is an alternative for him. And now we deal with what happens when you have leprosy of the home. And the Lord Yahweh spake unto Moses and unto Aaron, saying, When ye be come into the land of Canaan, which I give you for a possession, and I put the plague of leprosy in a house of the land of your possession. So because you're going to build houses, you're no longer going to be dwelling in tents. So somebody's house ends up having leprosy in it. And he that owneth the house shall come and tell the priest, saying, It seemeth to me there is as it were a plague in the house. Then the priest shall command that they empty the house before the priest go into it to see the plague. So they're going to clear everything out the house. That all that is in the house be not made unclean. So peradventure, this is leprosy of the house. You want to clear out everything so that they don't become unclean. And afterward the priest shall go in to see the house. And he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with hollow streaks, greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall. So the priest goes and he examines, and he sees that this plague is on the walls, right? Maybe on the ceiling and everything. And with the hollow streaks, when you look at this in the NKJV, it says here, ingrained streaks, okay? Greenish or reddish, which in sight are lower than the wall. So this is deeper than the surface of the wall. So like if you were to scrape, you would still see more of it. And I pulled up here an example, leprosy of the house, and you can see, right, this right here, right, this moldy, mildewish kind of thing right here. There you go. So as you scrape it, you'll see that there's more. It's almost like decaying of the house. So just a visual there. But as it says here, and he shall look on the plague, and behold, if the plague be in the walls of the house, with, I think we just read this actually, verse 38, then the priest shall go out of the house to the door of the house, and shut up the house 7 days. So just like an individual who has leprosy, or who is examined of the priest the first time, is set apart or quarantined for 7 days, they would do the same for this house. It would be quarantined for 7 days. And the priest shall come again the 7th day, and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the walls of the house. So at this time he comes, let's say the plague was on the right wall, now it's on the ceiling and the left wall. Then the priest shall command that they take away the stones in which the plague is. Because this would, you would build the houses. Remember, this is when you're in the land, right? So they will use the stone, the cement, the mortar to make the walls and everything, right? So the foundation, the stones of the wall, as it says, they will take it away, so break it down, break it apart, and they shall cast them into an unclean place without the city. So outside of the city is a portion that they designate as like either for garbage or for unclean things, an unclean dump. They will throw the stones over there. And he shall cause the house to be scraped within round about. So they will scrape, almost like chisel or like cut into a bit of the walls, like scrape the surface of the stone of the walls all around to try and get that top outer layer scraped off. Where we at? And they shall pour out the dust that they scrape off, right? Because there are certain like blocks that you use that you can actually scrape. So all the dust and the debris that comes of it, they would gather that and they would pour that, as it says, without the city into an unclean place. And they shall take other stones and put them in the place of those stones. So the stones that the part of the building they broke, they would replace it, right? They will rebuild it. And he shall take other mortar and shall plaster the house. So you take the stone, you take the mortar with, and what this is this is like the glue in between, right? That keeps the stones or the wall a wall, right? You gotta put the plaster, right, or the mortar, and then you gotta put the stone one on top of another or next to it, and then keep filling the in-betweens, the spaces in between with the mortar, and then you smoothen it, so that it looks like a wall. So any extra mortar or anything or plaster or that's around you, you're smoothing that out, and now you have your walls when it dries, that is. And if the plague come again and break out in the house after that he hath taken away the stones. So they scraped the insides, they broke off the part of the walls that was infected, and they rebuilt it with new ones. But now they come back and the plague is here again. And after he hath scraped the house, and after it is plastered, then the priest shall come and look, and behold, if the plague be spread in the house, it is a fretting leprosy in the house, it is unclean. And what this means is it is like actively infecting, like it's alive, right? You could say like it's not dead, it's not leaving, it's now spreading. So the house is now unclean. And he shall break down the house, the stones of it, and the timber thereof, and all the mortar of the house, and he shall carry them forth out of the city into an unclean place. Moreover, he that goeth into the house all the while that it is shut up shall be unclean until even. So if you go back in there to get belongings or whatever the case is, you're going to be unclean until the even. And this is while it is quarantined. That's what it means by it is shut up. And he that lieth in the house shall wash his clothes. And he that eateth in the house shall wash his clothes, to make sure, you're clean. And if the priest shall come in and look upon it, and behold, the plague hath not spread in the house, after the house was plastered, then the priest shall pronounce the house clean, because the plague is healed. And he shall take to cleanse the house 2 birds, and cedar wood, and scarlet, and hyssop. And he shall kill the one of the birds in an earthen vessel over running water. And he shall take the cedar wood, and the hyssop, and scarlet, and the living bird, and dip them in the blood of the slain bird, and in the running water, and sprinkle the house 7 times, similar to how he did for cleansing the human leper. And he shall cleanse the house with the blood with the blood of the bird, and with the running water, and with the living bird, and with the cedar wood, and with the hyssop, and with the scarlet. But he shall let go the living bird out of the city into the open fields, and make an atonement for the house, and it shall be clean. This is the law for all manner of plague of leprosy and scall, that is, leprosy of the skin, or of the head, or hair, and for the leprosy of a garment and of a house, and for a rising, and for a scab, and for a bright spot, any swellings, any rash, any discolored bright spot on your skin, to teach when it is unclean and when it is clean. So this is how you would know when this is a case of unclean leprosy. This person is a clean leper. They can now be cleansed. They have to be quarantined. Like how to handle these cases. This is the law of leprosy. And that brings us to the end of the book of Leviticus, the 14th chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Racha Kudash. And until next time, Shalom.